So here is the update on the 2015 Ford F-150 that you guys seen not too long ago, where another shop installed brake calipers, brakes, rotors. And when they were removing the calipers, I think they were trying to hunt for some kind of problem with braking. There was an issue with braking. And it was an electrical problem, but they were going to go through everything and just change everything out from the rear brakes because it's an electronic rear park brake. Needless to say, in the process of swapping the electronic brake caliper motor assembly, the emergency brake setup over to the caliper assembly, they either over torqued or did not install the motor assembly correctly and broke the tabs on the motor, costing the customer about $240 in a new motor. Now, this had been to 2 other shops. People misdiagnosed it after this, and it ended up at us with a U3000 code in the brake controller, which is a communication module failure code. Also, left-hand motor code for not being able to actuate properly. And there was park brake activation or something code. So my coworker, it ends up with him, and he's like, man, I've had to replace harnesses for this and everything else, this kind of stuff. And I was like, if you look at this guy's truck, it's very, very well kept. And I put out a video talking about not knowing what you're doing, not knowing how to put the truck in park brake maintenance mode, and what could end up happening when you damage these things. And you know, he puts a new motor and stuff on it. It doesn't clear the codes. The broken motor tabs were not something that was going to clear the U3000 code. And then he pulls the connectors and stuff apart, and he's checking everything out. You can see the connector tab was broken. The weather pack seal inside the connector on the back of the truck, it wasn't right. It was all swelled up from stuff that people had been spraying in there, so it didn't want to latch back onto the motor properly. And he's having a hell of a time with this thing, trying to figure out what it is and losing his butt because the customer, they want their vehicle back, and he feels bad making them wait so long. So he comes and grabs me and he says, hey man, I gotta have you come over here because I've had another tech look at this with me, and now I'm looking at it and we can't figure this out. And it happens to the best of us. Some of these guys have been in the field so long, a lot of the basic stuff, sometimes they forget, right? And me, I'm right in the middle of my career, and a lot of people starting, they don't know where to even begin sometimes. So I'm in that sweet spot where I really am retaining everything, and I'm a sponge. So I'm the best of both worlds. I have a lot of the senior level type knowledge and advanced diagnostic type knowledge, but also at the same time, I'm well above somebody that doesn't even know where to begin. I have the goods to know where to begin and get right to the point. So I told him, I said, what are you doing with those wires and stuff that you got laid out in front? I'm going to overlay the 2 wires that go back from the computer back. Why are you going to do that? Well, just so I can, eliminate those wires, I'm just going to overlay them. I said, there's other tests that you can do. And he says, okay, I could check for resistance. I was like, yeah, resistance is kind of a poor check, though. It's not a very good check. The best way to test any wire, and I don't care what it is, the best way to test any wire is it needs to be able to carry a load. So eliminate the resistance checks and all this. Load test the wire. Run power to the wire and run a bulb off the other end and see if it can actually carry a load. See if it can actually light that bulb. That's your first test before you do anything. Grab your alligator clip, run it from that positive wire over there, tee it right into that pin. I'll go in the back. I'll hook my 1 pin straight into the wire coming out of the connector and the other pin right to ground. Let's load the circuit up. Let's see if it can carry a load, and it actually functions. Light was super bright. Okay, switch over. Let's do the other wire. Light was super bright. You've just load tested your wires from the actual connector, going from there all the way back. What do you think your options are at this point? You've already checked your wires. And he was like, oh, wait a second. So I've proved everything out just in a matter of 5 minutes. Absolutely. All you had to do was pull up a schematic, find the power and ground pin going back there to that motor, load test those 2 wires, would only take a few minutes to do, and guess what? You've already went from the module all the way back to the connector. Those wires are good. There's nothing wrong with those wires. Your module's bad. Well, how do you know? I know. You've already load tested all the wires. You got a brand new motor and stuff on that thing back there from when the other shops destroyed it and broke it. They didn't know how to do their diagnostics correctly, and somebody was chasing something somewhere. And this is oftentimes why technicians get so upset for things that they don't really understand. Within 5 minutes, I had walked him through the best way to troubleshoot those two wires. If it can carry a load and it can light a light, it's got enough power to be able to function. Unless it's a super, super, super heavy load. Hell, I'll even take the old school square halogen lights and hook them right into the circuit and they'll light right up. You can light those, you're good to go. It'll work. Or grab a window motor and hook a window motor up into it like an old junk one. It still works. And then run your power and your ground. If that thing starts to move, you're good, man. You're actually running a motor that's similar to the type of motor and even sprocket type design that goes to the electronic parking brake. Same type of setup. If you can run something off those wires that has a decent load to it, you have already proved those wires out. So how about this? Go up to sales, find out if we have a 15 F150 on the lot. That module is not a hard configured type module. So if you swap it from another one into this one, you can test and see if it works or not. It's not going to corrupt data or anything like that. All you're going to be doing is messing with actuating and disengaging that electronic parking brake. So he goes to the lot, he gets a 15 module, he hooks it up. I go up to him and I said, okay, now run your calibration test through the computer. All of a sudden, both motors start working. And I said, okay, now put it in brake maintenance mode through the computer and pull it back out of brake maintenance mode through the computer. Both of them on and off. All right, now I want you, since you've proved out the calibration and you've proved out the maintenance mode through the computer, now I want you to physically take the switch and prove out the circuit for the switch as well. Apply it and release it. Let the computer see the calibration, the maintenance mode through, you demanding it through the laptop, and then also actuate it through the switch in normal operation on and off, and then go back and clear your codes. He applies it, parking brake set. Release, push the brake, push the switch in, parking brake released. Go to self-test mode, self-test the system, clear the system. All the lights are gone, working like brand new. The only thing that was going on with it, it took maybe a max of 20 minutes to figure this whole entire thing out. All you have to do is understand the situation, understand the circuitry you're working with, and understand the item that you're working with. Take a few minutes to study exactly how that part functions, how it's being controlled, and where the wires come from and go to, and you can be dangerous. I'm talking dangerous to the point where most people will lose their freaking mind just by doing simple, keeping it simple, stupid. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. You can be dangerous just by thinking about all of the basics and keeping it as simple and punctual as possible. You don't need to test for voltage or ground or none of that stuff. That's all a bunch of hogwash. It's a waste of time. Go to the connector at the module. Look for corrosion and stuff. Make sure pin fitment and everything's good. Load test your wires going all the way back. If everything's good from that connector back and all the pin fitment and stuff is good, you need a module. That's it. There's no other way to cut it. That's the only way. That's the only thing that could be bad with that system. Module, connection, wires, load doing the work. Load doing the work is brand new. Wires have been tested out. Pin fitment's good. Nothing else is there. I need a module. That's it. Y'all be blessed.